State National Party leader George Soros looks like a man with renewed confidence. Not only has the coalition got a new leader in John Brogden, but also a fresh election strategy.
One of the most important things that John Brogden and I will settle on is the elimination of any prospect of three-cornered contests. That's our best chance to remain united and remain focused on our enemy.
One Labor politician who isn't concerned by the move is member for Maitland, John Price. He's held the state's second most marginal seat since defeating Peter Blackmore in 1999.
The only way you can make an impact is to just have one Conservative candidate at a time. And probably from their point of view that was a wise decision, but I don't believe it will assist them on this occasion.
One example, though, is the northern New South Wales seat of Clarence, currently held by Labor's Harry Woods. At the last poll, both the Nats and Libs made it a three-corner contest. Labor won by 139 votes, but around 2,000 Liberal voters didn't preference any party, which is believed to have cost the Nationals victory. However, John Price doesn't think the decision will affect the re-election hopes of his North Coast counterpart.
The community view him as an identity within their area who's politically in their court, so I think they're going to have an uphill battle in Clarence as well.
Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
Relief. That's the biggest thing Newcastle United felt today as they realised the enormity of their achievement.
I can't believe it's happened. Full credit to the boys and the staff that I've got have just been brilliant.
But they made their coach wait all night for it after a dogged 1-1 draw against their Sydney namesakes left their top two fortunes in the hands of other results. Joel Griffiths was a marked man in his 100th match, and it wasn't just the opposition making big hits on the young striker. If Newcastle was nervous before the game, late in the match they were fighting to stay in it as Commons Manapi put the home side up 1-0. Hearts were racing and chances were wasting as Newcastle faced a massive upset. But luck fell the visitors' way in extra time. Alex Moriera awarded a penalty. From the spot he fired the shot that got Newcastle one competition point. It was breathing space, but they still faced a nervous wait from the clash in Perth. The third-placed Olympic Sharks circled, knowing a win would help them leapfrog United. They started well enough, but Perth clicked into gear to win and set up an historic home and away playoff series with Newcastle for the right to host the NSL Grand Final.
This is what you coach, this is what you play for these moments.
Tear-resistant materials where you need paper to be used, or if there's not so many of the fibres being fused, it becomes a more cloth-like material, and we can use this to make clothes.
Maitland Council considers the existing Rutherford Shopping Centre an important part of the city's retail sector. Now, to help fuel further development, council has sold vacant land it owns on the fringes of the centre. Raymond Terrace company Buildev plans to inject $15 million of new shopping space into the precinct.
They'll see a 2,500 metre Bilo supermarket, which carries a full range of groceries, a bulky goods centre anchored by the Warehouse Group, and about 800 square metres of specialty shops.
The Bilo and specialty shops will be established on the opposite side of the centre's car park, while land in Arthur Street, now used for a public park, will become a bulky goods store. Rutherford Shopping Centre is considered the minnow of Maitland's shopping scene. However, the interest from potential investors to further develop the centre has proved satisfying for Maitland Council.
We ended up with 4 remarkably attractive proposals that ultimately we had to pick one, and we've picked the one that we think gives Rutherford and the city the best offer.
Buildev plans to finish the new centre and improvements to the shopping precinct by April next year. Gary Blair, NBN News.
Turns Iogonoff leaves Will straighten in front. Motoring Mike's come through to second from Tataranite, then Greet the Judge into the outside, then was Blake Thomas. Zyuganov leads in front. Motoring Mike's trying to run him down. Still in front, Zyuganov leads. Motoring Mike's a half away with Tataranite. Zyuganov leads the neck on Motoring Mike, who's dying on his run, and Zyuganov leads wins the marathon. 3,490 metres later, Zyuganov leads has won. Well, to make that 4,020 because he started from the back mark. Second home went to Motoring Mike and Tataranite third. They were followed by Midfield Lorenzo, Scott's Dollar, Greet the Judge, Left the Fake, Satan's Nightmare, Travellers Check, Blake Thomas, Brett Rowan, Doc's Mistake, Silky Pockets, and I've never seen runners pull up quicker than what they have after that. Zyuganov leads. In fact, I had him.
The trip home for Easter travellers started badly today, with minor accidents near Karua and Bulladila reducing Pacific Highway traffic to a crawl. Police and the RTA knew early that they had their work cut out to keep people moving.
We can expect some delays at Karua and up at Bulladila, but we're sorting those out at the moment and the traffic will get home safely.
By late this afternoon, kilometres of vehicles were north of Newcastle waiting to head south. It's believed to be one of the heaviest traffic loads the area has seen. As the police Easter traffic operation continues, Hunter officers have booked hundreds of speeding motorists, and given the weekend's weather, they're not impressed.
We've just detected over 350 odd drivers for speeding, and most of those have been in the wet weather.
Gary Blair, NBN News.
Every time Libby Smith hops into the saddle, things seem to happen. Already this equestrian season, the talented teenager has won 3 events from as many starts. And so she should, with 2 Australian titles already to her credit. Buoyed by that form, she wants to make the jump into the senior ranks later this year.
It's faster, it's higher, and you're competing against Olympians like Stuart Tinney and Samuel Cloud and people like that.
And it's people like that she wants to join in the Australian team, but the 17-year-old is under no illusions as to how hard achieving that goal will be. Already riding with the pressures to perform, she'll be under even more scrutiny against the Olympians.
All the seniors, they really want my horse, and so yeah, it's got heaps of pressure on it, because if I stuff up, they'll think that I've ruined it, not my horse, because he's a bit of a legend.
Count Crossroads is just one of 2 horses Libby is preparing, and just keeping them fit is sometimes test enough.
I just go, I don't want to ride this afternoon.
Well, what keeps you going?
I guess my dream to go to the Olympics.
Also on the agenda this year, making the Australian Pony Club side to tour America. But it's definitely the Olympics she's really aiming for. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Excitement turned to hesitation as they first entered the unknown. Many of the 30 Aboriginal kids from the state's west had never been to the beach, let alone surfed. But that's the opportunity they got today as part of a Department of Sport and Recreation and Surffest initiative. Once in the water and on the boards, their bright smiles challenged the sun. The 3-day trip was organised to give the kids a chance to experience new sights, feelings and in some cases tastes, but it's hoped it could help them prepare for the future.
When they get older and they have to move out of the town for employment or for higher education, it becomes a bit of a culture shock.
For 14-year-old Krista Kirby from Condobolin, the ocean was an intimidating force, but after some coaxing, she caught her first wave, although unexpectedly.
I got a lot of salty water in my mouth. It didn't taste very nice. It was pretty scary because the waves, and well, I'm starting to get the hang of it.
The trip has been hailed a huge success and is likely to become an annual event. And there'll be plenty of takers next year when word spreads about the adventure.
We're going to tell them about the beach and how fun it was and tell them that they should have came.
Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
After an indifferent start to the season, things seem to be coming good for the Canberra Raiders. Injured stars like Luke DeVico and Ken Nagus are on the improve, while the team silenced its critics by stopping the rampaging Tigers last weekend.
A lot of people were sort of writing us off, I guess, after that second loss to South, but I mean, all the boys were fairly confident coming back pretty well and getting a strong win against the Tigers. We've done that, so I mean, hopefully we can build on that again this weekend.
Called into the halves for the injured Mark McLinden, Michael Monaghan will be playing opposite the Knight who single-handedly destroyed Canberra last time around. Andrew Johns scored 4 tries and bagged a club record 34 points at Marathon Stadium in July 2001, but the Raiders reckon they now know how to contain him.
They've got a very big mobile forward pack and, as you said, everything sort of centres around Andrew Johns, but, if we can keep it tight in the middle and control their forwards, well, we might shut down, A. Johns.
Just like the Knights, though, Canberra's final lineup depends very much on fitness tests, with both DeVico and Nagus hoping to pass theirs tomorrow.
Organisers of Surffest were blessed with almost perfect conditions for the first competition of the event, and the beach didn't miss out either. Elders from the Awabakal tribe watched on as a traditional smoking ceremony was performed to welcome competitors. But it wasn't long before surfers hit the water and Foster's Josh Haddon carved the early morning waves, but this form wasn't good enough to make it past the first semi. In the four-man final, Woolgoolga's John Craig took off deep on the first wave and got a nice tube for his efforts. Sometimes duelling partner Josh Slab was next to score with a similar, if not as impressive, ride. Newcastle's Matt Wells was just a little optimistic with this manoeuvre, while Paul Snow, representing New Zealand's Maoris, pulled off a nice floater. But the title was being fought out by the other two surfers, each one scoring high marks. In the end, it was Craig who pipped Slab for the title.
It's a totally different feeling from winning it the other time, but yeah, I just still hasn't sunk in.
Meantime, Foster's Lara Haddon convincingly won the women's title. Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
It was nice to actually go back and bowl some tournaments and actually rank up a win. It's good for the confidence.
It was hoped Adam McDougall would be fighting fit in time for the Raiders game, but that hope evaporated this morning. The Knights winger will again watch from the sideline this weekend, with regular replacement Anthony Quinn back in the starting lineup, having impressed his coach.
Anthony's done very well for us and he'll do another good job for us on Sunday.
Exactly who takes to the field with Quinn won't be set in stone until Saturday, although the team's main concern, Matt Parsons, trained well today despite his injured shoulder, and Billy Pedon's gradually coming to grips with a corked thigh.
After Monday it was pretty bad and I thought I'd struggle for the weekend, but it's responding a little bit now to treatment, so fingers crossed, hopefully I'll be right.
In fact, many players, including Andrew Johns and Josh Perry, were today feeling the effects of the Warriors game in what was the team's first training session since.
You'd have to say they're probably a bit flat today, I guess, and that's to be expected after the events of last weekend, and we'll hopefully get them up for Sunday.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
It puts a new spin on a steep learning curve. First term not complete, and these Warners Bay High students have mixed their studies with preparations to stage a 4-show season of Little Shop of Horrors.
Well, that's right. We only started 8 weeks ago, and it's on today. So we're doing pretty well. The last few weeks have been pretty full on, and everybody's ready.
The cast, band and crew comprises 80 students, including some who have just begun their senior studies. An audience of close to 1,000 is expected to see Little Shop by Saturday. Meanwhile, still on the stage, Knights player Ben Kennedy came face-to-face with the Seven Dwarfs to launch their impending visit. But it was daughter Alex who was most impressed, meeting the lady she usually watches on television.
And upstairs in what's the DVD?
The production has 4 Novocastrians in its ranks, and they look forward to bringing the show home.
I think it'll be great. It's great theatre and looking forward to it.
The Brothers Grimm production plays the Civic Theatre during this month's school holidays. Gary Blair, NBN News.
With just 4 first-grade sides in the A-Men competition last season, officials knew something had to be done, and the Premier League looks to be the solution.
It is. It's just going to breathe more life back into the association. Both associations. It's going to publicise hockey where it should be, and that's pretty at the top.
6 Newcastle teams have entered, with 2 Central Coast sides making up the new competition. But it's thought this is only the beginning.
I believe that Rebels are looking to come back in next year and gnaw ahead, which will go to a 10-team comp. But in a few years, I'd like to see a second division and maybe an under-17 or a third division.
The first round begins Sunday with 2 games on the Central Coast, while the other matches will be played at Newcastle. 4 games tomorrow kick off Newcastle Rugby League's new season, with the twilight match at Carl Oval set to be the highlight as last year's premiers host the Goannas. Curry heads to Tomaree on Sunday. The Wanderers' pre-season form has them firm favourites for successive Newcastle Rugby Union premierships, with the season opening round also tomorrow. They take on last year's runners-up Eastern Districts tomorrow, but the match of most interest will be at Waratah. That game marks Lake Macquarie's return to the top grade. And in first round Black Diamond AFL, 4 games tomorrow, with Warners Bay to host Terrigal Avoca on Sunday.
The classrooms at St Vincent's Infant School were empty today, absent of the many students who had been taught there since 1961. A closing ceremony was held to mark the school's final day. It featured the Sisters of Mercy, which established the school, along with past teachers, parents and, of course, the last of the school's students. Next term, the students will move to St Joseph's Primary in East Maitland. The local diocese says there's more benefits at a kindergarten to Year 6 campus.
I think you get greater educational continuity. There's much more leadership opportunities for the older children.
Also moving to St Joseph's are students and staff from St Mary's Infants in Tanambit. While classes were originally taught in a chicken shed in 1965, teachers say the school has always been a place with a strong sense of community.
It's been a wonderful experience working in this small school with this very special community, and I'll miss it all.
When he's in full swing, Matt Parsons carries a single-figure handicap on the golf course. On the football field, hardly anything has stopped the biggest man in league this season. Enjoying a great start to the year, he earned plenty of accolades yesterday.
Yeah, it might sound a little bit arrogant, but I think
We had some pretty good players yesterday. Our 7 and 9 played pretty well, and I guess all the forwards, Josh before he got hurt.
It was better news for Perry though today, with scans clearing him of serious damage to his ankle. It's not that good to start with. After breaking it twice as a teenager, the season flashed past his eyes on the stretcher yesterday. Out for a week, ribbing from his mates might last longer.
I feel a bit of a goose actually getting carried off on a stretcher now, but at the time there's no way I could have walked on it.
Ben Kennedy is a doubtful starter against the Roosters on Friday with a broken bone in his hand, leaving coach Michael Hagan with some selection dilemmas. However, Adam McDougall is thought to be making his season debut, but he's got plenty to catch in the try-scoring stakes. Mark Hughes touched down for 3 alone yesterday.
Tamana's sort of the guy that seems to get across the line most, so we've got to try and keep up with him.
Few can keep up with Andrew Johns. The skipper booted 8 from 9 yesterday to sit atop of the point scorers tally with an average of 16 points a game this season. He also became the 8th player to amass 1,500 career points. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
The CEOs of 318 Sydney companies were surveyed for the Hunter Valley Research Foundation study. Questioned over what image they most associated with Newcastle, more than 31% said steel, followed by industry, the harbour, beaches, then coal mining.
Compared to what it was, say, 4 years ago, it's about a 15% decline in the proportion of people or business executives that see that. So, in fact, sure, there's still a predominant image that way, but it's going to take a long time to change that.
Among the other results released at a lunch today, that Newcastle is now recognised for its attractive environment and fantastic lifestyle. As for the Hunter's image, 67% immediately thought of the vineyards, then coal, Newcastle and country aspects. And while the Hunter boasts strong export and business growth, 6 out of 10 CEOs believe the Hunter was less competitive. Asked why they wouldn't set up business in the Hunter, the biggest factors were a perceived poor industrial relations record, small market size and inadequate air links to major destinations. A campaign is underway to change that.
Holding Hunter expos, business matching with companies there. It's also going out through the national media.
It also involves utilising personalities such as Hollywood star and passionate Novocastrian Sarah Winter, who today recalled the attitude of girls at her Sydney boarding school.
A lot of them thought it was ugly. Ugly. Not my city. We're from across the harbour. Newcastle looks like a fairyland, crowned by a golden cathedral with storybook buildings cascading down the hill to the sea.
Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
Work continued today at ADI on the Minehunter project, despite 90 workers being retrenched yesterday. The workers say they knew their jobs would be lost, but had agreed with the company that wouldn't happen until the 22nd of April. But yesterday, ADI brought that agreement forward by 2 weeks.
I think it's another thing to turn around to people and say that this is the date when we're going to wind up, and we'll do it all nice and gentlemanlike, and then at the drop of a hat, no, you're not coming in the gate anymore.
Retrenched worker Rod Luff says the 90 former staff are now short a fortnight's promised pay and believes the decision was made to punish workers for striking over safety issues. Today, an ADI spokesman said the company's decision was based on not letting the strike action interrupt the focus of existing workers finishing the Minehunter project. So the decision was made to bring the initial agreement forward by 2 to 3 weeks. The Australian Metal Workers Union will now lodge a complaint with the Industrial Relations Commission and try to secure the workers their 2 weeks' pay. But Rod Luff says those retrenched would be willing to work until the end of the month.
If you're paid to do a job, get in and do it, and that was the attitude of our workers.
Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
Just living with cancer is hard enough, but now a new report has revealed living in regional or remote areas makes fighting cancer all that more difficult. Rural sufferers have almost a third less chance of survival than their city counterparts.
The further you live away from a treatment or a support service, the poorer your survival rate is.
Surviving cervical, bowel, prostate and lung cancer is particularly poor in remote areas, as is the cancer survival rate among the state's Indigenous community.
If we could offer more and better services in rural and remote areas of the country, everyone would be happier, including people living in the city.
Southern Cross University's 4-year study claims a reluctance to seek treatment because of inconvenience or lack of education is also behind the poorer survival rates. The Cancer Council is now hoping to reverse this trend.
We've put in place a distance learning education program so that those medical practitioners and nurses who work in remote areas have some more idea about the sorts of cancer prevention, support and treatment is available for people, and to be able to communicate that to their communities.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
It's said things happen in threes, and Mark Hughes is living proof. A hat-trick of tries on Sunday, and today a 3-year deal with the club he just couldn't think about leaving.
It's more a privilege to play for the Knights rather than a job. It's just such a good thing to do. You know, you go shopping and people want to wish you the best for the weekend, and mind you, if we lose, we normally go late night shopping. There's not enough people.
It follows the re-signing of Matt Gidley and Danny Badiris, but there are still a number of top-grade players just starting negotiations, including Sean Rudder and Matt Parsons.
A couple more years and I'll hang them up. I think I'm not looking for long-term. You know, I'll be 29 this year, so another couple of years will be 31, and I think I'd start to think about winding things down a bit.
What the club won't be buying into, talk that the Roosters are ripe for the picking with their horror injury toll.
I think we've got 7 or 8 out in the club at the moment, so you know, everyone expects to go through a tough time. Obviously, they're going through a tougher time than most.
With Josh Perry and Ben Kennedy both out, Steve Simpson has been pushed into the front row while Clint Newton gets his first run-on start. Just where and when Adam McDougall will make his season debut, not so clear.
I'd like a pretty fair indication by lunchtime tomorrow.
I guess the disappointment of Sydney is something that maybe actually gives me experience in this situation, because I know what it's like to miss out, and I don't think I'll let myself do that again.
There were plenty of anxious eyes watching Adam McDougall get put through his paces this morning, and even the man himself had a few butterflies. Having passed with flying colours, now he's only got the game against the Roosters to worry about.
I was nervous before the session, and I'm going to hate to think if I'm nervous now how bad I'm going to be on Friday, but I was pleasantly surprised. I sort of went a lot better than I thought I would, and you know, the training session today was as close as football conditions as you can get, so I got through that pretty well, and hopefully I'll pull up not too sore tomorrow.
That'll probably determine whether McDougall starts the match on the field or the bench, with Mad Dog only rating his recovery from a groin injury at 85%, and his match preparation is limited to say the least.
No, I'm just trying to remember, you know, where I put my footy boots from last year and my mouth guard, so hopefully I can find my mouth guard before the weekend.
The only gear that's on Clint Newton's mind is Ben Kennedy's shoes, or rather filling them. But his first ever appearance in the starting lineup should be just another feather in his cap.
Hopefully if I can go out there and just play the way I've been, just doing my job, and Hayes has been quite happy with doing that, so all I can do is go out there and try my best.
It's a young second row with Daniel Abraham partnering Newton and looking forward to renewing old acquaintances.
Yeah, it's good to play with Clint because we played a bit together when we were younger, so it'll be a good experience to get in there and play alongside him.
Seen here at the MCG during the Socceroos' recent World Cup campaign, Clayton Zane's been attracting plenty of interest in Europe, and it seems Anderlecht has beaten everyone to the punch. The Belgian league powerhouse has been looking for a striker to replace crowd favourite Jan Koller, and obviously thinks the Norwegian league top scorer is the man, with the transfer worth almost $5 million Australian dollars. To the NSL, and seeing as he's not expected to be sorely tested this Saturday in Coffs, Newcastle United keeper Daniel Beltrami has already spent time sizing up Perth's strike force.
Against them, I've had two pretty good games, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Beltrami has 8 clean sheets this season to be equal first in the league. Meantime, tickets for the home leg of the semi-finals went on sale to the general public this morning, with the club reporting a good response.
Every year, East Mayfield Public School students get the opportunity to learn about Anzac Day from those who know it best, returned servicemen. The diggers, most of whom served in World War II, explained the importance of the 25th of April to a new generation of Australians today.
And it's a living part of our history that for children to get to know these people and get an understanding that this does go back to some pretty horrific times, but these are just ordinary people.
Also there to lend a hand of spreading the Anzac message, but through song, was country music star Adam Brand. He performed his next hit, The Anzac.
I've been doing my shows now this year and starting to play it with the new album coming out, and their reaction has been incredible.
And that's what the stars of the Pirates of Penzance received today at Newcastle Civic Theatre from St Mary's Primary School at Warners Bay students. The students gave stars John English and Simon Gallagher thank you cards after their performance, while the Pirate King gave one of the teachers a moment to remember.
John Schneider's close encounter came during a dip at Newcastle's Bar Beach at 6:30 this morning. The 45-year-old had been swimming between young surfers 150 metres off the beach.
Next thing I know, something had hold of my foot and it was just shaking it around. Well, the first thing I did was I kicked it off with my other foot and it left me. And the kids around me asked me what I was screaming for.
The New Lambton computer consultant's feet now bear the puncture marks from what he believes is a small shark. But the phrase once bitten, twice shy means nothing to John, who will continue his morning swims. It's thought a spear fisherman may have helped attract the shark because of fish blood in the water, but John's seeing the funny side of his brush with baby jaws.
I've just been told I wouldn't shout if I was bitten by a shark, and I'm going to prove them wrong this afternoon.
A quarter of an hour before John was bitten, surfers from Surffest were evacuated from the water after a sighting of a 1.5 metre shark.
A few of the Brazilian boys, Victor Ribas and a couple of the boys, they all came straight out. I don't think they like sharks somehow, but a few local young kids, and they all came in and waited for 5 minutes, did the right thing and then went back in the water after all was clear.
At the moment, sharks are following the migrationary pattern of bait fish. Only recently, surf titles on the Gold Coast were delayed due to a feeding frenzy. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
A Middle Eastern drumming workshop at Civic Theatre this afternoon heralded the start for the first Newcastle Festival of Percussion. Inner-city venues will host performances by leading drummers and percussionists, plus workshops on the art form until Sunday night.
"180 students made the proud walk onto the stage at Tokal Agricultural College today as graduates from various courses. But for one, it's been 50 years coming. Lloyd Rossington, a Lucerne farmer from Scone, describes himself as being the same age as the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but he proves it's never too late to become officially qualified. The 70-year-old sits on several boards, including the Pastoral Protection Board and the Hunter River Management Commission.
To be able to stand up in front of everybody and say, well, at least I'm qualified to give an opinion. Not that it's any better than it was before, but it reinforces you anyway.
One of the last to receive their certificates, Lloyd was already thinking about his next challenge, a diploma in land care.
My family, my wife and daughter are here today and they're very proud, and I'm very pleased that they're able to see me get my diploma.
Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
An extraordinary set of circumstances and a lucky escape from injury are just two descriptions being used for this afternoon's crash. The driver of the Brisbane-bound semi-trailer carrying general freight is believed to have lost control of his rig just after driving past the Black Hill Road overpass on the F3. He then went on a 500-metre journey that's left many gobsmacked.
He's crossed the incorrect side of the road, crossed through the median strip, over the southbound lanes, up over the noise embankment here, across Lenigan's Drive and into a creek and sort of mud hole on the other side of Lenigan's Drive.
The truckie's unscheduled excursion could be heard by those living nearby.
A hell of a crash, which sounded like rolling thunder, and it just kept going on and on.
Amazingly, the 51-year-old Brisbane man managed to escape with his written-off prime mover.
He ended up neck deep in mud, struggled pretty badly to get out of the cab. Really, we're very lucky that no one else was killed. He didn't hit another car on either of the roads.
While police believe driver error is a possible cause of the crash, Roads and Traffic Authority heavy vehicle inspectors are also checking whether mechanical failure contributed to the accident. It was the second accident today involving a truck on the F3. 2 men were given a rude shock when the Mini they were travelling in was hit from behind by a truck near Freeman's Waterhole. They escaped serious injury. Gary Blair, NBN News.
I love playing Newcastle. As long as the wicket's good, that's the main thing. If you get a good pitch, then you normally get a good game. So New South Wales got a good record up here.
Friends say 62-year-old Dennis Matthews was a dedicated member of the Royal Volunteer Coastal Patrol. Today, his wife, daughters and grandchildren met with his colleagues following his tragic death on Thursday. The Swansea man was carrying out a rescue to free a houseboat which had ran aground.
The crewman Dennis had to get onto the houseboat to help secure the line so they could pull it off.
But while attempting to reboard his vessel, Dennis fell into the water.
He took a couple of strokes and one of the crewmen from our lifeboat, when they discovered that he was in trouble, dived in with a life ring and then they pulled him on board and commenced CPR.
Once back to shore, he was treated by ambulance crews but couldn't be revived. It's believed he suffered a heart attack. While water police are still investigating the incident, his fellow crewmen have been praised for their actions.
They did everything they could possibly do and everything was right with what they did. It's just a tragic event.
His family and colleagues have been somewhat consoled by the fact that he died while helping others.
But he will be sorely missed as a friend and a member.
Lyndall Derrick, NBN News.
There's an old salesman's line that absolutely everything must go, and that certainly seems to apply to tomorrow's auction at Newcastle Speedway. Billed as the end of an era, anything that's not bolted down and many things that are have been assigned lot numbers. In all, there's 660 to get through.
In fact, if we've missed lotting something tomorrow when we're selling, we've been told by David Lander, the owner, that we'd put a lot number on it and sell it. So basically means if someone's here and they say, hey, you haven't lotted that, bang, she goes under the hammer.
While sporting groups and other speedways have been showing plenty of interest in things like plant equipment and lights, the modern catering facilities are also proving popular. Then there's the memorabilia side, like flags and signs, but not every driver will be after a piece of the wall.
The concrete wall, I've got plenty of remnants of that at home. So we've had a few excursions there.
In fact, it seems the only things not listed are the skid marks, but believe it or not, even the old burnout tarmac hasn't been immune to inquiries.
And I think there'll be a lot of people that have been coming here for years that'll sort of come looking for something that they can take away and say, look, I'm part of Newcastle Speedway.
The auction begins tomorrow at 10:30 with the sheer number of lots, meaning it'll take the best part of 7 hours. Colin Baldwin, NBN News. A basketball showcase that's worth roughly $500,000 to its host city, the Australian Schools Tournament also tests administrators, bringing together 250 players from across the country and even 60 student officials.
They've been drawn from our representative playing ranks in Newcastle, so they're kids that know the game, but it's a different aspect for them.
The New South Wales under-18 boys certainly kept the scorers busy. Coached by Hunter Sports High's Len Solomon, the defending champions breezed through their opening games against WA and Queensland. Fellow locals Sophie Kleeman and Jessie Ann Baldwin also featuring in the under-12 girls team's 2 wins. But not every New South Welshman's wearing blue, with Dorrigo High's Tim Kovacevic and Newcastle's Adam Stanger drafted into the Northern Territories lineup to provide some extra firepower. And everyone's looking to impress just in case any NBL or AIS scouts are watching.
In the past years, we've had students who have gone through our program and certainly performed at this tournament and then have gone on to play at the NBL level, so it's not out of the question.
The 24 teams get Wednesday off, with the finals to be fought out on Friday. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.